Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So today we are going to play a bit of a detective. We're unpacking a piece of breaking pharmaceutical news that is, quite honestly, pretty dense. I mean, headlines in this space are notoriously packed with acronyms and these massive compound names, right? They kind of compress these huge medical milestones into just a handful of words. But instead of just skimming past all that jargon, we're going to stop, isolate the key drivers, and figure out exactly what this development actually means for the industry, the market, and most importantly, for the patients. Let's get right into it.
Here is the exact headline that just hit the newswires. Quote, Intas gets CDSCO nod for breast cancer drug Trastuzumab Emtansine. Wow. Okay, just take a second to look at that. Even if you closely follow the medical and pharma sectors, a sentence packed with that many specific regulatory acronyms and compound names, well, it's a lot to take in, isn't it? It's just a single line of text, but I promise you, it carries a massive amount of weight, signaling a really notable shift in the landscape of targeted therapeutics.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly does this mean? How do we translate this super dense industry shorthand into a clear picture of the strategic move being made here? Well, we've got a bit of a knowledge gap right now, so we are going to deconstruct this headline literally word by word to fully understand the story, the science, and the strategic maneuvering happening behind this single sentence.
We'll start by isolating the very first piece of our puzzle, the primary driver here, Intas. You know, in industry updates like this, the subject of the sentence tells us exactly who is making the strategic play. So Intas is the key pharmaceutical company at the center of this news. They are the ones driving this specific regulatory submission forward, bringing all their research, development, and resources to the table for this targeted oncology treatment. Next up, we hit the governing body, CDSCO. Now, for those who might not know, CDSCO is the critical regulatory authority here. Think of them as the gatekeeper. They're the ones who have meticulously reviewed all the clinical data, evaluated the safety and efficacy protocols, and ultimately they hold the power to actually greenlight these medical treatments for public use. They are the ones officially validating what Intas brought to them. And that brings us to the action word tying the pharmaceutical player and the regulator together, the nod. It's actually kind of funny, right? How casual the word nod is right in the middle of such a highly technical headline. But make no mistake, getting the nod is a massive, hard-fought regulatory milestone. In this context, it literally translates to official clearance. It means the CDSCO has rigorously reviewed the data and officially granted Intas permission to move forward with the next phase of this drug's lifecycle. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is we finally reached the core of the announcement, which is Trastuzumab Emtansine. I know, it's quite a mouthful. It's probably the most intimidating piece of jargon in the whole headline. But simply put, this is the exact name of the active, targeted therapy receiving the approval. It's the specific chemical formulation, the actual physical medication, that Intas has successfully navigated through the complex regulatory pipeline to secure that vital clearance.
Finally, we have the target, the clinical application, breast cancer. Obviously, breast cancer is the critical problem in this scenario, and this newly approved drug represents a targeted, milestone solution aimed directly at expanding treatment options for this condition. It really makes this clearance a truly critical and closely watched development in the oncology space. So, the crucial point is, when we snap all these puzzle pieces back together, the narrative becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? We've got who got it, Intas, who gave it, the CDSCO, and what it actually is, the breast cancer drug Trastuzumab Emtansine. We took what felt like a super dense string of industry terminology, and we've revealed a really straightforward, high-impact strategic success in pharmaceutical development. But stepping back for a second, a development like this begs a much larger question for the industry at large. When a major player secures approval for such a complex, targeted therapy, the effects ripple outward. So what does a single regulatory nod actually mean for the future accessibility of breast cancer treatments? How will it impact supply chains and market dynamics moving forward? It's pretty amazing how just a few highly technical words in a news feed can signal such a massive real-world shift for patients and clinical practices. Definitely something to think about as we watch this roll out. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.